The rule is, if you're arguing for more than 3 minutes, you are no longer arguing about whatever topic you think you're arguing about. You're arguing about the relationship. That is one of the most consistent factors and statements that I can make that relate to relationship success or failure. Hey, it's Dr. Fox, and let's talk about the 7 stages that lead to the end of a relationship. So are you feeling like your relationship is on the brink, like you don't know what's going to happen? And the important thing to know about this is that it didn't happen overnight. And we're going to talk about how couples often reach that breaking point and, more importantly, how you can prevent it. So hang in with me, and here we go. Now, the tipping point is that, we're loving our partner, we're working with them, and we want to have that healthy relationship. We have this idealization of what we want our relationship to be like, what we want our partner to be like. And we have to recognize that over time, obviously, things are going to change. And perspectives are going to change, but not always for the negative. And we got to remember that. And we have to understand that there are stages that all relationships go through. Now, I'm going to break them down to just 7 stages. And we're going to take a look so you can have that awareness and build it into your relationship. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about some prevention points and tips that you can utilize to help you build your relationship and strengthen it. First, we got to talk about rationalization. And things start small. We know that. You notice that there's little pet peeves, things that kind of bother you. Whether your partner's always late, or are they unreliable, or are they drinking too much? But you tend to rationalize those things away. You kind of push them out of your conscience. You're like, it's not a big deal. It's not worth, talking about, stuff like that. Or you say, they're stressed out. I'm not going to worry about that. They're just stressed. It's just a phase. They'll get over it. And you dismiss it perhaps as a miscommunication or something that's going on, something small and temporary, when there's a part of you that says or recognizes that, hey, this is something that's been going on a while and that's disrupting the relationship. So you got to be careful of that rationalization. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to address these things early. And if you catch it in stage 1, then things don't keep growing into 2, 3, 5, 7. Just try to catch it early. And, recognize those rationalizations and try to talk about it as best you can with your partner as early as possible. Dealing with things when they're the size of a Hershey's Kiss is so much easier and better as opposed to when they are a giant boulder that is about to drop on you and your partner regarding your relationship. So it's important to look at that, recognize that rationalization, be open to the communication so that you're not fostering resentment, so that these feelings and these things that are coming up that you're noticing, and they can also be in yourself too. We shouldn't just put our viewpoint only on our partner. We have to look at ourselves as well. Don't rationalize your own behaviors and your own maladaptive behaviors and be like, well, they don't really count. I mean, it's just a phase, whatever. But how are they impacting that relationship? Don't rationalize those things away. Because sometimes if you do rationalize them away, you move into stage 2, and that's magical thinking. And if you're starting to think, if I just do everything correctly, right, then they'll change. This is you believe that if your partner was patient and understanding, or if you were more patient and understanding, things will improve. But the issue keeps going. It persists. And as that keeps going, that magical thinking, what you're doing is you're creating a degree of distortion. And you don't want that distortion. You want to be able to see yourself, your partner, and your relationship authentically. When you're not doing that, things get muddy and blurry. We don't want muddy and blurry. Not at all. So as a couple, I want you, both of you, to recognize and challenge that magical thinking. First, identify it. Are you doing that? Do you have a tendency to engage in those things? That if everything just went right, if I did everything right. Now, that's also a codependent-based thought as well, so bear that in mind. And is that an issue that you have as well? Is codependency a problem and something that you need to focus on? That's important as well. But remember that magical thinking creates problems. And that you have to recognize it first. If you can't identify it, how can you deal with it and change it? You can't. And what I want you to do is have realistic expectations and work together on those central issues that you and your partner have. It's ignoring it that's a problem. Using a maladaptive strategy like magical thinking creates that distortion, so you're not seeing yourself, your partner, and your relationship authentically. You have to be able to do that in order to have an honest, open, growing relationship. And if you're watching this video, that's because that's what you want. And we can move into stage 3, which is shifting focus. So you decide to focus on what you can control. This could be your kids, your job, whatever it may be. All the while, your connection with your partner starts to dwindle and you start living these kind of parallel lives, right? I'm doing A, you're doing B, and there's no A and B overlap. And you've shifted focus away from the relationship onto external factors. Just as I mentioned, kids, job, friends, hobbies that don't involve your partner, things like that. Now, I'm not saying all your hobbies should involve your partner because I don't believe they should. But you guys have to have some common ground, some overlap of A and B so that you're doing things together, that you're building that relationship. Because I think that relationships are like plants. If you have a plant in your house, you know what I mean? You got to water it, right? Got to make sure it's getting sunlight. You got to make sure you're taking care of it. Your relationship, same thing. It's got to have sunlight. It's got to have water. It's got to have communication. It's got to have your attention, and that's important. And you want to be able to really focus on that strong connection, right, with your partner. That's critical. And regular check-ins can be great. Go to dinner. It doesn't have to be a super fancy dinner. You can go anywhere you want, but just sit. And the purpose of that is just focusing on the relationship and not just the problems. Don't just focus on the problems because that's not a meal you're going to want to have. Oh, great. We're going for another complaint session, right? Nobody wants to do that, right? That's why you utilize a maladaptive strategy like shifting focus. Shifting focus away from the issues because you don't want to deal with it. You'd rather ignore it and, let the plant dwindle. But you have to have that connection. You got to get together and do those check-ins, having some common ground, some activities. Maybe there's something that you'd like to do with your partner. Maybe if you both like music, going to concerts. And there could be free concerts where you live. Where I live in Houston here, there are free concerts that you can go to and hang out. You might see me at one of them. I don't know. Say hi if you see me. And you want to put that time and effort, just like in that plant, in that relationship, to help it grow and develop. And that is critical. Stage 4, this is personal change, and you realize that you have changed over time. Your needs are different, and you're no longer willing to compromise or feel lonely in your relationship. If you have A over here, you have B over here, and then if you're A and you're starting to explore more interests, you're starting to develop in particular ways of things that you like to do, of different flavors, different aspects of life that you want to experience, but in your, not only in how you see it in your head, but also with your partner. If they're not included in that process, you might be growing outside of the relationship. Now, is that always a bad thing? No. But if you want to have the relationship, it really isn't conducive to the relationship growing into a more healthy, vibrant type of relationship. That's not what you want. And if you start to feel lonely in your relationship because maybe your partner is engaging in that personal change and you're not because you're stagnant for whatever reason, and you start to see that can create a lot of in-relationship loneliness. And you really want to be paying attention to that because both of these factors, those personal change factors, I'm not saying that they equal it, but they increase the probability of someone stepping out, of meeting someone else, of finding another person, another individual whom they want to share those experiences with. And what I would say if you're watching this isn't to encourage jealousy or anything like that, but instead of getting mad at that person, what I want you to do is I want you to look and ask yourself, hey, what is it about me that they might be, you don't know, they might be looking elsewhere. And these are important conversations to have. If that thought, if you were like, oh, I wonder if that's true, that means that, you might have to go back to stage 3 right there, which would be nice. Go take a step back, but also have that time where you're connecting with your partner and talking about not only your personal change, but your growth and shifting of focus and things like that. It's really important for you to be paying attention to those things and really looking at it. And not only do this if you feel lonely or if your relationship is in distress. These are things that you need to do regularly. Look at your own growth. Talk to your partner about your growth, their interests, and try as much as you can to align those things. Try to align your goals so that you're both getting your needs met. So you're both not lonely in the relationship. Because remember, how you're feeling might be an indicator of also how your partner's feeling too. And maybe they just, for whatever reason, they're not going to bring it up, or they're not able to, or they don't know how, whatever it is. Maybe they haven't seen this video, or watch this video with your partner and be like, hey, do you think we have that? Yeah, bring me into your relationship. Sure, bring the video into your relationship. By all means, for sure. That can be helpful too. Stage 5, this is when your relationship's on the ropes. This is, you feel like your relationship is dying. It's withering. It's like that plant. It's starting to wither away. And this is in large part, maybe you've been on autopilot. And what once held you together, it's just not working anymore. You just don't have that similar connection. You start to fantasize about having a different life. Maybe you fantasize back of what it was like to be single, or what it would be like if you were dating, or things like that. And I think it's important to realize that, we do have a tendency, all of us as human beings, to see that the grass is always greener. Let me tell you, from one side of the fence, that grass can always look greener. The reality is, once you're standing on it, that grass may not be so nice, green, and comfortable that you thought it was. And you don't want to end up in those situations where then you're looking back and going, dang, man, I had it pretty good over there. Darn it, right? You don't want that regret. And the way to avoid that regret is to do the things that I'm talking about. This is where you may need to go to couples therapy, having those moments when you're together, talking about your growth, talking about your interests, and making sure that you both are working together to have them align. And that's really important. And if you do it early, you may not reach this stage, and that would be awesome and amazing. Remember, address those issues as they come up head on. You got to find ways to connect, and that may be new ways. Could be physical connection, right? Maybe you role playing, or you have this fantasy about, that, remember the episode on Modern Family, if you've seen that, right? Where, so she's at the bar, and then Phil approaches Claire, is her name, and approaches Claire. They're in these little roles, and stuff like that. You may want to do stuff like that. I mean, that could be really fun. It could be interesting. Things to try, but it brings you closer. And even if it feels weird, that's okay, because then you can talk about why it feels weird. And that's a good thing, because you're both like, that was kind of weird. Yeah. And it's okay to be weird. Weird is good. It's a good feeling, especially when you share weirdness with your partner. That's really good. Number 6, this is an increased conflict or distance. And here, you're either living completely separate lives, A and B, or you're constantly fighting, right? You're like two rams that are just smashing their head together, right? And you're feeling more empowered, but also you're more aware that you can't keep living like this, that it's that conflict, and that does cause a flood sometimes of adrenaline. And that's like, yeah, I feel really present, really alive, really intense. Okay, but that's not going to help to grow your plant or your relationship. That's not going to help you out. And interestingly, there is like a lot of research that if you talk in a calm and open manner to plants, they tend to flourish. If you yell and berate plants, that they actually do tend to dwindle and start to wilt as well. So it's just very fascinating. And our relationships can be just like that. And if you find that conflict is where you and your partner are connecting most, I got to ask you, have that conversation with your partner and step back. Whoa. Both of you have to agree to that timeout. If you feel that you're arguing and you're constantly going at it, here's the rule. The rule is, if you're arguing for more than 3 minutes, you are no longer arguing about whatever topic you think you're arguing about. You're arguing about the relationship. That is one of the most consistent factors and statements that I can make that relate to relationship success or failure. Once you can realize that you're arguing about the content, whatever that may be, money, sex, closeness, whatever. But after 3 minutes, if that argument is continuing, toothpaste, whatever it is, after 3 minutes, you're arguing about the relationship and you have to step back. Now, couples therapy can be great. Learning conflict resolution can be great. Having that open dialogue to talk about what needs aren't getting met that you guys are arguing about the relationship so much. So just to restate that rule, if you're arguing more than 3 minutes, you are no longer arguing about whatever that topic is. You are arguing about the relationship. Don't forget that. That's a good one. An important one for you to bear in mind. In stage 7, now we're going to get in tips that can help you out, because I've added some continual tips on the way, but I got a whole little basket of tips for you. So number 7, this is the ultimatum or separation. And when you issue an ultimatum or you start making moves towards separation, you have to talk about ending the relationship and how that could shock your partner, but you're just exhausted and you're unsure if things can be fixed. You start to wonder, you know what? If he or she does this, that just verifies that it's over. Don't start doing those little magical thinking tests, right? If he or she comes in today and they say, "How was your day?" then they really love me. Don't do stuff like that. That is going to get you right to stage 7 super fast, and you're going to get an ultimatum or separation. And I think you have to look at these things. You have to stress the importance of not waiting until you hit stage 7. Now, you may be in stage 7, and that's okay, because you can start utilizing these tips with your partner. You have to look at your relationship. You have to take action, particularly trying to manage not only your wants, needs, but also those expectations. Check on the health of your relationship. Just as you might look at your plants, turning your plants around, right? Do all the leaves look okay? Hey, are all the leaves on your relationship, are they looking okay? I don't know. But the most important aspect I think that you can take away from this is prevention. How can you prevent the decay and the wilting of your relationship? Let me give you some quickies. Here are some quickies for you, which you may want to have a quickie with your partner. Nothing wrong with that either. All right. Now, regularly assess the state of your relationship. Now, there's a lot of worksheets that you can find online for free and that you and your partner can both fill out. And then you can use that as a talking point, as various talking points. If you have trouble sort of really conceptualizing different issues and problems, try that. Address issues head on and don't avoid them. Don't do it when you're frustrated and angry. Don't focus on relationship issues when the iron is cold. That's when things are calm. That's the best time to talk about relationship issues. This implies, or this includes with your kids as well. Don't talk about your relationship with them when you're fighting or there's something going on. When everything's calm, just say, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" And don't make it accusatory. Use more I messages. I feel like this. I feel like we're not connecting. I feel a little distance from you. I wonder, do you feel the same thing? Things like that. Don't rely on magical thinking. Please stay focused on realistic situations, authentic and realistic situations and what is going on. Keep communication open and stay connected. Have those regular dinners, meals, walks, whatever it is, with you and your partner. Make sure that you're doing that. Don't wait until your relationship is on the brink. Take these steps now to strengthen your relationship, build it, and prevent the 7 stages from becoming your reality. And one more thing and last thing, remember, it is never too late to turn things around. If you feel your relationship is struggling, start by having an honest conversation with your partner today. I will add a video right here on helping you develop positive relationship interaction patterns and insight. And I hope it's helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.